So welcome everyone to the first day of the Manila Hackathon for the Zed cycle. I'm excited to be here with you today. We did have one exciting bug squash, I think 2 cycles ago, where we had the chance to work on a lot of new functionalities for our OpenStack client. We got like really close to feature parity, and at the moment we realized that we were still lacking a bit of functional testing. And over the PTG, we mentioned that this would be good timing to start working on a few functional tests and making some progress, so we would be able to uh, basically get some coverage on functional testing for our OSC and ensure the quality, as we intend to mark add a deprecation warning to the Python Manila client at the end of this release. We still have a few functionalities to implement, but functional testing is gonna be a good thing for us at the moment. So yeah, I have a few things here to share. In the mailing list, I don't know if uh, if you saw the email, I think you did. But yeah, I sent a few things. I basically created a simple Etherpad with the board we used in the last time, and now we have a bunch of activities as well, just to implement a few functional tests. Thank you, Mari, for putting together that list and for helping us out with that. And we came up with a very good list of functional tests to implement and what are the features we need to implement functional tests for. Over this hackathon, I would say the idea is to basically try to implement the positive functional test for us, so we can ensure that at least like the positive scenarios are working just fine, and then we can continue getting more progress on this. So in the Kanban, you can see that there are like lots of tasks to implement. Don't be scared. Like the implementation is not supposed to be as big as it is for the implementing the commands. So we need to test a few scenarios for a few commands and so on. But I think it's going to be a fun activity, and we are going to have a good time doing it. And yeah, I mentioned that I shared the Kanban, the Etherpad link, and there is like the Kanban. But also there is a document I created with the instructions to set up your environment for functional testing. So yeah, um, there are a few ways of doing that. I basically prepared 2 ways. The first one of them is to is through setting up it via Ansible, which is the way that our CI does that. And it will basically be a very easy way. If you do have a DevStack environment already, it's great. You won't, if you have Manila enabled, you won't possibly need to do much more things. You will just need to prepare your environment for functional testing. Yeah, so after you prepare your environment for functional testing, you can run the functional testing command. So you ensure that it's all of the setups are done properly, and the Manila client configuration file was generated properly. So yeah, Gotham added a good remark. If you are not on Taiga, please join us and give him the email address. I think everyone in the board is able to add people, because we have all of us were added with product owner role. So, but if you don't have access to that yet, please let us know, and then we can add you, and you can help us to grab a few tasks. So how do we want to make this happen this time? So compared to the last time, we had like teams of 1 to 3 people working on a task, and this time, as like the tasks are kind of smaller, we can get like teams of 1 or 2 people working on the tests and getting a few tasks. Because I mean, as I mentioned, the idea is that the implementation is not supposed to be so as big as this for for actually implementing the commands. So yeah, that's one of the ways you can organize yourself. So you can grab like someone that's gonna be your pair over this week, or you can just work alone if you prefer to. But yeah, the thing where we come to now is where we can look at the tasks. And for that, let me share my screen for a bit. Yeah, so we can look at the tasks. And at the tasks, we can see that there are a few things here to do. So we can start by assigning a few tasks for us, and you can actually go ahead and claim on task, or we can do that like over this call and go over the tasks and mentioning like what would be necessary for this and seeing like what would be the size of these changes, and then we can assign a few things for you. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the first item we have here is actually one of the issues we have with Manila client, and we're kind of working on this as well. But let's go to the next ones. I see, I think Ashley already grabbed one task. One task first. Thank you for doing that, Ashley, which is to add functional tests for the command share set and unset. And these are separated like this. So we also had a task to separate admin and user clients for functional testing. I had an implementation for that. I submitted a change this morning. No, last Friday morning, and yeah, it's still under reviews. But if there are commands, admin commands to be implemented, we can rely on this task. So yeah, the first one on the list here is to add functional tests for availability zones. Availability zones, it's not supposed to be a big one because I mean there
Hey,
is
Carlos, I'm
yes.
not sure if that is something you have to toggle in the views, but I did add points so we can sort these.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Do you want to refresh and check, or I'm not sure if that's something that's like an option that will somehow show the
Yeah,
points?
sorry, and thank you for doing that. I mean, I wasn't able to see the points here, so
Okay.
like I wasn't sure like how it
Yeah,
works.
use the expanded view on the left side. Then you can see the tags and everything.
Like,
Oh, sorry, right side.
oh,
Oh, there you go. Nice.
oh, wait. Do I need to? Oh, we can't.
Yeah, change the zoom setting from default, and then the next one is like detailed and then expanded. But the other way,
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Thank you. Expanded. And then what I should do? Should I just like do this and this one should expand or not?
I think it's expanded. You can see like the
Oh
points
yeah, there
already.
are the points here. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you. So I don't need to do this. Cool. All right. So yeah, now the first one, as I mentioned, is the functional test for AC. I don't know if I'm sharing this tab also. Yeah, can you see the add functional test for AC tab, or only like? Oh no, I think you may not. So yeah, the first one is this. Let me redo the sharing. Okay, I think this may work better. All right, can you see it now?
It's
Yeah,
loading.
we can see.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So yeah, this task is basically to add the functional test for availability zones command. It's we have a pointee system. Do you want to explain this, Gautam? The pointee system you would just?
Yeah, I just pasted that on the chat. It's not something crazy. It's basically if you just have so many of these methods have like the complete CRUD implementation, right? So you can create a resource, delete a resource, update a resource, which is set and unset some properties, and then you can do some more things with that resource. So if these methods keep increasing, the number of functional tests that you probably write also increases. That's just the rationale. So something like this, which is AZs, there's just one command really. It's availability zone list, and so you would probably write just one or two functional tests to test all of the possible combination of things, whatever code branches you want to test, etc. Using just one of those test kinds. So that's why it's a three-pointer. And so all of these tasks that Mari broke down for us, I kind of was able to divide them mostly within 3, 5, and 8. There are very few 8s. There's just one 13. I think we got to break down the 13. But if it's a three-pointer, I think one person and probably a couple of hours of work, you'll be able to get everything done, kinds. So you can extrapolate from there. So if it's an 8-pointer, if you want to work in a group of 2 people, it might not take you that long to finish up, uh, writing all the functional tests.
Yeah,
And
cool.
I think
Thank you.
the 13, I did see a pattern almost at the very end that Mari had used to break down, which was shares, for instance, have like a lot of different subcommands. So she has like I think 4 or 5 different stories that comprise all of those subcommands. But the same is not true for the share networks thing. So maybe we can use this meeting to break it down at least into 2 parts so that we can, I don't know, create an 8-pointer and a 5-pointer or something.
Yeah, definitely. My point when I created those is to write down everything that needs to be done. So we can definitely split the tasks and stuff. So feel free to do that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so would you like to break it down now, or we can go like assigning these tasks we have, and then when we get to the 13 points, which is share networks, then we can break down.
Go ahead and break it down, I guess, because yeah, it's gonna be the only 13-pointer out there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Because we can be
So,
sure it won't be touched for this hackathon if it stays there.
yeah, so
So the way we've done this for shares is set and unset as a separate task or a separate story. And
yeah.
maybe, yeah, list, show, create, delete would be one story. So that way you have like an 8 and uh, perhaps 3 or 5.
Yeah, I think this works. Yeah, let's do that then. Okay, so we'll update this. This one is gonna be okay, and then I think there's a way for duplicating these, right?
I was hoping there's some fancy icons at the bottom, but I don't know what they do. Or you can just create a new story from the Kanban board as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's create that. Okay, let me copy the contents of that folder one. So it's gonna become an 8. And then, oh, all right. So yeah, we broke it down in Surreal. Okay. Right. So now I think we can start assigning a few tasks. So yeah, the first one is functional test for AC. It's supposed to be a small one, as we have only one command to be tested, which is availability zones list. Yeah, is anyone willing to take this as their task?
We are going to work on pairs, so I don't think it should fit for us. I don't know if.
Oh, cool.
However, I consider this one, since it's easy one, it's a good one to start. So we can set up the environment and starting doing the first steps. So I think you can assign me. I will be working with Leo. I don't know if he's here. So we'll be working together. So you can start work with this, even if it's a small one. But we will just work on this to understand the environment and how the functional test works.
Awesome. Thank you, Felipe.
So
Yeah.
will we have time on this call to like kind of go through what it means to write one? I know there are examples, but do we just want to keep one at the very end? Because there's one very much like this at the very bottom. It's the limits one. It's just limits show. So perhaps we can like, pair program with 15 people, one of those tests just to show how that's done.
Yeah, sure. I think that will be a good idea. So yeah, if we start now, I think it would be cool, or because I
No,
mean
go for it. Go for it. Like finish if we have some time, we can do that. Otherwise, it's okay.
all right. Yeah, I can we will add some examples to the Etherpad as well, with some implementations that Maria already did. So yeah, that those will be helpful too. But it will definitely help to get one command implemented on these and showing like the testing and how things are going to work. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, next one is share messages. Yeah, we have a 5 here. Yeah, causing a user message is tricky. Yeah, there are a few examples in the Manila Tempest plugin. Let's see what are the commands we would need to implement. Yeah, so there's delete, undelete this message, and show as well. So this is like 3 commands, but Manila Tempest plugin would be a good example for us. Because there we already like make Manila to induce Manila to create a few user messages because those are not triggered like manually. They occur based on like some issue that may happen over the creation of a share, for example. So yeah, Manila Tempest plugin is gonna help us. So yeah, it's supposed to be 5 points, and there are yeah, there are 3 commands to be implemented. Is anyone willing to take this?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm considering taking this one with Mateus. The problem is, I don't know, maybe this is not exactly like a part of the system that would be would be the best one for him to learn. Like our idea here is to like we kind of divided our team in pairs so we can assist with we can like help in the um, hackathon and also like keep our tasks in the NetApp side moving. So like this is basically why we are trying to work in pairs and also to instruct the people that never worked on this kind of task before on Tempest. So yes, anyone would like to take this one from our team? Like I would say that maybe like if there is something for the folks that just started working with us, maybe something that's more like a simple to test and to validate in their environment would be easier. Not easier, but like would give them a sense of like they would be able to actually see in a daily basis this kind of feature. But
Yeah, I mean, you can go down this list. I mean, there's probably, yeah, you're right. Like user messages needs you to somehow cause one in order to be able to test it. So you'll probably
yeah,
have to rack your brain around that.
Maybe share replicas or something like that, because I was working on snapshots and I figured out it's quite easy to work on that because the share itself is implemented in the base class. So you create a new file and then you basically you use the existing base method to create a fake share, and then you can do replicas and should be like fairly easy, I think.
yeah,
I of
yeah.
course might be missing something.
Yeah.
Appears to make sense to me. Which task we are talking about? Which number?
Share
Let's
replica.
Yeah, 66.
66. Let me open it. Then we have create, delete, set, resync, promote, list, and show. Yeah, this one. What do you think, guys? Looks like something like a 8, right? At least.
And there's a lot. You can split it,
Yeah.
share it, and but
Yeah,
it's
makes sense
I
to
don't
split.
know if that's a good idea, because if you I started working on the snapshots, and what I did is that one test basically does all the CRUD commands. So I run the command to create a replica, then I run commands to set and unset some values, and then I list, and then I get it by the ID, and then I delete it. So basically it's like one test and do it all in a row. So if that makes sense, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. So it seems like a
Yeah.
lot.
The QE people in the room might be squirming. So I mean, it's definitely a good idea in terms of like because you have the resource and then you can start building off of it. But it would be nice also to just try to split the things because when you see the test fail, you want to know exactly why it failed and what
Okay.
operation, what
Yeah,
API
makes
failed.
sense.
So if at all it's multiple commands that you're testing, I mean sometimes you can't avoid it. Like you need a snapshot to exist for you to be able to delete it. So create and delete will always be there, and you need a snapshot for it to have some metadata or something like that. So where it's possible, try to split them, of
Okay, so
course, into
I can
multiple tests.
definitely redo. See, that's why we need help. Okay, so separate. Okay.
Yep.
Uh,
And for something like
good
this,
to
right? So,
know.
yeah, like Fernando was saying, if two people are working on this, you could do it, parallelly in two separate patches if you want. And in the end, if you want to merge your patches, you can, or just, um, you know, work on the same patch in different files or whatever. So there's like an opportunity to definitely parallelize and do it together, sorts. That way, if you split it into multiple tests as well.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, should we keep this as is, and then we can assign you, and you are going to be working on pairs, and you can do as Gautam did mention, basically to have two separate changes or split the workload, and then you decide how it's gonna be like the best work for you to work together.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, so this one is going to be assigned to whom? The 66?
It can be me. I will be working with Luisa.
Yeah. Okay, and the idea is to working in the all set of of features of operations. We are going to split and have like a part of the like a one person working on create lead set and the other on resync promote this kind of stuff, or like we are going to split and get like a and the one like a one pair is getting a set of is getting the first three functions, and the other is going to take the other like a four functions to APIs
We believe we were going to start with per coding. I never wrote a functional test for a client, so probably we will learn together, and then we can split apart and have it.
yeah
run.
yeah yeah. I
Cool.
think yeah, it would be nice if we could split these ones since considering the amount of time we have, if we can at least consider working on the on the basic KPIs, even if we can finish all of them, is some kind of like a improvement. So yeah, just worried if you folks will have time to work on all the operations and finish until the end of this record.
Just one thing, I think this 8 points that got on edge this one, it's not it's more comparing with other tasks to know which is easier or harder, but it doesn't mean that's 8 points in our sprint. It doesn't mean it would take like 2 weeks, because internally we consider 8 points here in our side 2 weeks.
Yeah, I get it.
So
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit afraid of that. That's so you take 8 points, it will consume 2 weeks for us. But for this task, from what I understand, it can be finished during this week with two people working. What do you think? I think this task can be finished.
yeah, is my
Not
hope
like
as well. Yep. So I mean, you try it, right? So start writing a test, and you'll realize it's actually pretty simple. I think you'll be spending more time setting up the environment and trying to run the test and getting familiar with that process than the coding aspect of this. And maybe if you, I mean, like Carlos said at the very beginning, the focus here is on the happy path testing. And I'm really hoping as we write these tests, we are able to find some bugs because
Okay.
we never had these tests before and stuff like that. So, but whatever the case is, right? We write the happy path test and then we go crazy with it. Like in case you finish early and you want to pick up another task, feel free to do so. If you finish early and you want to start adding negative tests because there are code branches inside these things, if this do that kind of thing, maybe you start adding those tests as well and things. So it's completely up to you. But I think the initial task is not going to take you that long.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. I would say like Fabio, let me take this one with Mateus. I've been
Okay.
working with share replicas, so I kind of like yes, it's kind of fresh. Like I was on PTO, so not so fresh it was, but yeah, I think it's going to be easier for me. So yeah, maybe you guys can assign to me this one.
Awesome.
And go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah, and
I
I
was
think
just going to ask for your email so I can add it to the poll.
Ah, yeah. Sorry. Let me
I
go
think you
ahead.
can try to like propose something if you like just test create and delete. So yeah, you could. That's the path you have for this functional test for this week. So you can try to do your best and try to cover as many operations as you can. And then we split in patches, in different patches.
Yeah, I think so. Those are there.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Carlos is asking for your email. Please provide like a Gmail or something like that.
I'm sending to him on IRC
Ah, okay, okay.
right
Ah,
now.
yes. Yeah. It's on IRC, Carlos.
Cool. Done. So it's going to be Mateus and Fernando.
Maybe need to refresh.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's continue with the assigning of the task. Thank you for taking this over, Fernando and Mateus. Let me push this. I may need to refresh. Replicas. Very right. So next one is yeah, the share message one is anyone interested on taking this and working on this?
I can do it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Great. Okay, so next one is functional test for quotas. Yeah, this one is it has like 5 points in terms of effort that we would need to make. It's a few. There are a few commands to implement, for example, quota set, and then there is quota show and quota delete. These three commands, they're like a bunch of if else or some conditional things going on. Okay.
We could take it in Luisa.
Cool. Yeah. Right. So it's Fabio and Luisa, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, share access rules. Yeah, it's supposed to be 8 in terms of effort. There are a few implementations, a few things for this. Yeah, operations can be done assuming one access type NFS. Yeah, it's a good thing to think about, like having tests only for one, because otherwise we would need to consider like CIFs as well and the CEF one. So yeah. So for this we have share access allow, deny, list share access, and showing share access. Also, yeah, setting the share access and unsetting, which is basically a few things we can do, like some updates to an access that we already have. Yeah, this one, it requires kind of a bigger effort, but yeah, is anyone willing to take this? If yes, sorry.
I think you can add me and Lucas if we can work together on this.
Awesome, thank you, Nain.
Just one thing, so this task is to provide the functional tests using NFS only, right?
Yeah, NFS only. Like no need to worry about CIFS and sorry.
Yeah, because,
Any other thing? Yep. One sec. I guess an important clarification is, and Carlos has got it in that Google Doc. These functional tests are not written to run against any storage but the dummy driver, because you can go crazy with actually testing stuff, with a proper backend. And we used to do that a little bit in the past, but we switched to just using the dummy driver, which means the dummy driver ends up supporting every single API, so we never have to have any flags to say, run replication test, run this kind of replication test, any of that sort. We don't want to be bothered with that. So that is kind of why I called out that this only needs NFS testing, because the dummy driver supports only NFS and CIFS. So if you want, feel free to add CIFS tests. But even if you just add NFS tests, our client functionality will be covered, because there isn't much that's there in the client code that is going to do some special casing of CIFS versus NFS versus CFFS and stuff like that. That's the idea. So that extends to everybody that is going to try to run these functional tests locally, right? So don't expect that these will run, this will work fine without hiccups against, let's say, a NetApp backend or a Ceph backend or something like that, because NetApp's not going to support every single API that's out there, every single configuration, etc. So stick to using the dummy driver and pretend that all features are just supported. There's nothing turned off. Sorry, that was tangential, but I hope it also answered your question.
From my side, it's fine. I got your point. It makes our life much easier when with dummy driver. So we can also reach a bug scenario in the driver side, and we end up freaking out for the problem, but the problem is not the functional test itself, it's the bug on the driver. So yeah.
Exactly. Because all of these clients, right? Python Manila client, Manila UI, the SDK, etc., they don't really need to know what backend is there, etc. So all of the user interaction, for instance, doesn't have anything to do with backends. So let's just pretend that everything just works when it comes to that layer and just test the API functionality.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we have thankers for the access tool. Thank you, Elaine and Lucas. Going to the next one is, we already have Numrat on this one. Sorry, did I spell your name properly?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yep. So yeah, thank you for taking this over. I'm going to add this to the ready column. Yes. So next one we have is functional test for share group type access rules. yeah, this one's a we broke it down already as well. So yeah, it's share group type for access rules, and for share group types, if these were combined, it would be like a larger, bigger effort. So yeah, thanks for breaking this down already. Is anyone willing to take this, the functional test for group type access rules? If not, I think I can take this. And I think this is, I can make an effort to make these two work, both the share group type access rules and share group types. Maybe I should start only with the share groups, but yeah, I can try to work on both of them, but starting with the share group types, access rules. Okay, so it's allow, deny, and list share group type for access rules. Yeah, I think I can make it work for both and for share group types as well. So yeah, it's gonna be bigger. It's like creating, listing, show, set, and unset. Sure, I can work on this too.
I don't want to volunteer you, but if you want, like, if you want to pair program with somebody, ask if anyone's interested, I guess, because I can do one of those as well.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Is anyone willing to be like to pair up with me?
Not me and Carlos. I was just going to verify and verify the patches, review the patches, but yeah, I'd like to join you. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Vida. Then the idea to this issue as well. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So these two are ready as well. Oops. So yeah, we already have someone assigned to the functional test for share groups. Thank you, Archana, for signing up to this. Do you have like any questions about this? Should they just like push it to ready and yeah?
Yes. So I'm going to like work on functional test first time. So if someone can come with me to work on this one.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep. Feel free to ping me, Archana.
Okay.
And I'm in your time zone right now, so even if you have some time in the mornings, that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. So next one is share instance export locations. Is there anyone willing to take this? It's supposed to be a 5-pointer. For instance, export locations, I think it's a nice one to work. It's showing and listing the export locations of a share instance, but the steps will also require to create a share and getting its instance and showing and listing the export locations for it. Yeah, it's 3 points actually. Yeah. So yeah, is anyone willing to take this?
I can take it as well.
Oh, cool.
You can. Me and my pair is Leonardo.
Yeah. I think I don't have Leonardo's email, so could you please send it to me and I can add him to the board?
I don't know if I think he's not here. So
Oh, cool.
I can add later.
Yeah.
Talk to
Awesome.
him
Thank you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have the
can
permissions
just
as
send
well.
you a message.
Thank you. Right. Functional test for share instances. Now it's the one which is supposed to be like a bit more of commands to implement. Yeah, so listing, showing, setting, and deleting share instances. Yeah, it's supposed to be a nice one as well. It's like a create, read, update, and delete. And it's supposed to be fun too. Is anyone willing to take this?
Just one thing, when I'm testing the share instance export locations, I must create a share instance, right? And then I run the share instance to show export location. That's the API that I'm testing. And in this scenario, I would like create the share instance. And yeah, so is it not like
You'd create a share.
Yeah.
So, and then I mean, they're kind of related. There are different APIs. They're just ending up in different files. But in any case, you'll create a share, and then you can execute all of those commands against that share's instance. The only thing you can't do is delete a share instance, I think, if it's no, yeah, you can even do that. So instead of deleting the share, you can delete the share instance, and it should wipe out the share along with it. So
in
I
both
think both
tests?
yeah, in both these stories. So I think if you want to pick up both, that's actually a good idea because you'll have the same theme.
Yeah, the same setup, right? So
Yeah.
you create a share and then you operate over the instance. Okay, so
Exactly.
you can add me to this one. I can
Awesome.
reuse a part of my work.
Thank you, Felipe. Okay. I think these two ready as well. Yeah, next one is functional test for share limits. I see Eduardo and Kaique on this one. Thank you for taking this. If you need any help, ping us. If you have questions as well, ping us and we can help you.
Sure. Thanks, Carlos.
Awesome. So add functional test for share network subnets would be the next one. Yeah, this is supposed to be kind of a bigger one, but
Eduardo.
yeah. Okay, so it's create, delete, show, and showing a share network subnet, which is yeah, it's a nice exercise and 3 commands. So yeah, would you be willing to take this one as well, Eduardo and Kaique?
Silence.
Yeah, I think how many
Yeah.
points is that one?
It's supposed to be like 5, but it's 3 commands, and I mean the testing for this is also supposed to be like kind of straightforward because whenever you create a share network, you end up with a share network subnet. So
Yeah.
at the end, you can just like create a share network. You need to create a share network and then getting the share network subnet, but it created within, and then you can delete the share network, for example. So yeah, you can like reuse a bunch of things. As for example, in the share instances where you have the case where when you create a share, you end up with a share instance.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I believe we can take. Yeah.
Eduardo and Kaique. Awesome. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Oh yeah, for 7. And next one is for share networks. Yeah. Is there anyone else in this call without like a task yet? I think we have a pretty good number of assigned tasks already. I don't know if like you would like to claim these or claim another one, which is smaller due to the time you have over the next weeks. But yeah, is there anyone else willing to take the share networks?
Does Nain Lucas already have tasks assigned?
Yeah,
Yes.
they have one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think like we could like think on this as like a minimal effort, and we can bring more if we have more time, I would say.
Yeah, sure. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing we're thinking about too. Like if you finish the functional test for the task you got and you still have some time to work on others, yeah, there's still like this list of tests to be worked on. And actually it's like 9 tasks more or less. So yeah, for functional testing, there are a few others that are blocked here, and some other that like are wish list. But for functional tester, oh, there is actually one more here, which was the set unset version of our subnets we broke down. It was only down. So yeah, it's like about 10 tasks other than these ones we already assigned to people and so on. So yeah, the idea is that we are able to add to work on this if we get some time to finish our as well. So cool. Is there anyone else without a task and would like to get one?
Yeah, I can pick up the Sure Networks one.
Oh, this is awesome, Ashley. Good stuff. Anyone else? Okay, I will take that as a no. Yeah, we have a good number of tasks already assigned, and yeah, let's try to focus on this and get some changes going for this. There are the examples for implementing. I think I shared those in the mailing list, but I can add those to the Etherpad as well again. And as I mentioned, the steps to set up the functional test environment is in this Google Doc I created. So if you have like any question or something you would like to bring up or you'd like some help, please reach us out. I think Gotham also mentioned that he would be open to pair up with someone. So if you'd like to reach out to him and learn a few of his tricks, so please get in touch. Okay. Yeah, so it's a good number of tasks. Thank you. I think I'm quite happy about this and excited that we are going to get lots of things moving over this week. Would you like to add something else to this call?
I have a question. So there is an open patch from the last cycle. We kind of pushed it out because we had to ship the client. This one with Felipe, with Andre and folks. So are you planning to refresh this patch, Felipe? And if you are, I think this is ripe for a functional test as well. Right? I think you're just adding one new command in this.
Yes, sure.
Awesome.
Yes, for sure. Like, yeah, that we working on this one. We have like on Manila we are okay, but just okay. We have just a few patches still pending, but we have a bigger problem on Cinder. We have several patches in stale right now. So this week we should start like looking on all our patches in the community that requires more effort to get it merged. And yes, we will definitely prioritize this one. And
Great.
I think what Douglas added, like the comment that Douglas added is just like
Yeah, he just wanted some time to review, I think. And I guess he was also expressing the fact that we weren't planning to merge it in the Y cycle.
Yeah. And I will also talk to him, see if he can give like some minutes for to dispatch and check if he have more comments, and we can also do like internal review again, check if there's anything that could be improved in this one. Probably this one require like at least A merge, right? Not a merge, but yeah,
Rebase.
a rebase.
Rebase.
Yes, a rebase.
Yeah, I think it should be trivial. It's
Yeah.
not showing me any merge conflicts yet. And
Okay.
since you're adding a whole new method, probably just add the functional tests alongside right now, so you don't have to keep that as a pending item.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I can take this one. I can review and try to provide the functional tests.
I thought you don't have a choice. No, thanks.
Yeah, and there is no more here, so yeah.
Yep.
Mine.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Great, thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, Gotham. Cool. Okay, so we met today at this time, and we intend to have like a checkpoint on Thursday in the time of the Manila meeting. It's gonna be happening in the same room. We had this one. So yeah, if you'd like to join that one as well and request for some help over that call, I don't know if it's gonna be too late to have the example of implementation. What do you guys think?
I can stay, and I see like one like share pools, for instance. Pretty easy to write one for that. It's just a single command. And if folks want, I mean, if you have other things, you can drop off, and we can just do this on the call. What do you think? If folks can stay, if anyone that's interested to learn can stay.
It will be recorded.
I think so. Yeah, we'll continue this recording.
Okay. I will watch later. I have to drop.
Yep. That's okay. Yep. Thanks.
Cool. Right. Okay, so yeah. Would you like to take this over, Gautam, or do you want me to do the implementation?
Okay, I don't mind. Let me check my environment if it's ready. I was just saying hi to the special guest, Toda.
Oh.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. I can take it over. Let me see.
Let me stop sharing them. Thank you very much.
No problem. And no compulsion to stay. Yeah, like feel free to drop off in case you have other meetings or something else you were doing.
I will also drop. Thanks.
Yep.
I have to take Floki for a walk, so I have to drop. But I think Thursday I'll also be late because I have a conflicting meeting, but it should be like 20-30 minutes, so I can join later.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thanks, Mari.
Everyone. Thanks for helping out. This is so cool. So much is gonna get done. Okay, see you later. Thanks.
So thank you, Mari. See you.
Right. Cool. I'm just like bringing up the browser here. Just give me a sec. So the task here. So you have the doc that Carlos shared. It's going to be really important, especially when you're trying to set up a dev environment. Wrong file. Give me a sec. Well, that's opening up. Let me just take you through the environment setup, I guess. Let's look at what Carlos has written, I guess. If you've not seen this and you're looking at this for the first time, what he's suggesting is if you have a dev stack already, click through this link. There is a paste here which shows you, a basic dummy driver configuration, right? You don't need this Oslo middleware thingy, but just copy paste this into your manila.conf and enable these backends, alpha, beta, gamma, and I think that's just 3. That's okay. So just enable these 3 backends, and you will set that with enabled shared backends. That's the parameter. And you can disable some other backend if you don't want those test shares that you're creating via functional test to end up on that backend. And just enable these 3 and bounce the Manila share service. And if you want all three services, if you want things to be really quick, and then you can follow the rest of the steps. If you don't have a dev stack environment, you'd follow the rest of the steps, right, Carlos? Or is that?
Yeah, that's right. I just forgot to add the instruction to restart the Mozilla Share service, but I'm
Okay,
doing that right now.
awesome. Okay, and this is true by default, the create initial networks. So if you have an LVM environment or a CEF environment, we kind of turn that off and we do the creation ourselves in the plugin. So that's definitely something nice to verify that you have not turned it off. Because if you turned it off, then the rest of the steps don't work. So if it's not, if it was turned off and you have an environment without the public and the private network, that's okay. Carlos has given you steps to you know do those parts, set up that part. But once that is done, you'd be he's even written like a Ansible playbook that you can execute. You just have to download this playbook or just create it in your local system, and you'll be able to point it at this playbook and run this command, which is Ansible Playbook, the name of the playbook. That's there. And you can set different values for this, for whatever this playbook is doing. And in this case, he's just setting the Manila client config. And by default, the Manila client config is going to exist over here in this location. If you want to change it because you have it somewhere else, please feel free to do so. Right. So some people, for instance, would install their dev stacks under opt stack new, or maybe home stack, etc. So just changing the name of the base directory should suffice. And this Manila client config is required for the functional test to run right now. We're populating this config, and maybe in the future we won't need a config because we're going to start using the cloud config that's already there in DevStack machines. But for now, you will need this because our functional tests require it. And once you have that, it's also advisable that you set your share type to whatever you want to use, because the client tests are not going to create one. They're just going to use whatever share type you want them to use. And typically, this share type should support all of those optional features that you want to test, right? So if you want to test snapshots, the share type should support snapshots, mounting snapshots, reverting to snapshots, replication, etc. So all of those optional features, you would enable it in that share type and then set it over there. And how do you run the functional test? You'll get into the Manila client directory, Python Manila client directory, and you execute this command, right? This is going to execute all of the OSC functional tests. But if you wanted to execute a single file that you're probably creating under this directory, you can always add that file path directly, or a single test as well. That's kind of what you would do. What else? I think what is this, Carlos? It's the same
Sorry, I was on
thing
mute.
about?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, but with other
Okay.
ways, because we have a documentation currently upstream where you are allowed to like copy some instructions that we have in that documentation, and also you end up with an environment setup. So the other day is like doing that, but I mean, for this, the Ansible sounds way simpler than the other one, because the other one we would need to be copy and pasting things, and I mean, it's also quite easy as well. But Tempest, doing that with Ansible is gonna be like pretty much straightforward, and then you can just like there is one thing that you need to replace, which is the path, the where your Manila client conf should be located at. But other than that, I mean, it's just following the steps that are there, and we already have the role written for that. So Ansible is gonna take care of everything, and you end up with the Manila client conf set up properly. So yeah.
Great. Awesome. All right. Thank you. In case you have any questions at all, talk to Carlos. He wrote the guide, but
Yeah.
feel free to also post it on OpenStack Manila, and folks can help you out over there. So I have the Manila client repo here. Excuse my tabs. There are just too many of them. I'm just going to make sure that I have the latest version of the code. Evidently not. So we're planning to write tests for functional for the storage pools aspect.
Yep.
So I'm just going to call it hackathon. Do we have a topic that we want to set, Carlos?
Oh, we don't.
On Jared? Okay, hackathon's fine. All right. So where are the tests? Well, in the Manila client directory, there's a tests folder, and under that there's a functional folder. Under that there is an OSC folder. That's the test organization. And so it follows the code after that, which is basically everything that's under the tests, under the functional thingy. It has the same file names as whatever the command has, right? So we try to keep that convention. It's just a convention, not a rule. So under OSC, we're looking at the storage pools command. So that's the share pools command. So I'm going to create a test share pools file. Right. So let me do that. And as is usual, I'm usually just lazy. I don't go to the website and all that stuff. Just copy the Apache license header from elsewhere. And what does this share pools command look like? Well, it has a listing of the share pools. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. There's just one command. So list share pools. And then you could actually filter that list with host, backend, pool, detail, share type, etc. So let's just do a basic happy path test for list share pools, right? That's what we want to actually write here. I'm going to worry about imports later. But if you want to look for examples, there's like an example right here. So this is the first attempt at writing CLI tests for the shares CLI, right? So to create a share, it would execute OpenStack share create and whatever parameters that you're sending. So this create share CLI is actually just implemented here as a wrapper. So you can pass anything to it and it will call the command. And that's what the functional test is all about. It's about invoking the command and then grabbing the response and then, doing whatever assertions you want to do with it. So we're going to create something very similar, right? So this command and its wrapper are invoked from base.py. So that's good organization for ourselves. We don't have to put it there, but let's do it. Let's put it there for the sake of consistency. Right. So right now we just have the create share command over there, nothing else. So let's probably start writing a list pools command over here. And right now I'll not have anything with it, but based on these parameters that it's taking, we may want it to send a bunch of parameters and change the way that command is built, etc. So we'll start with that. Just put a shell out there saying list pools, and then we are going to create a test class for that. So what I like to do is just split my screen at this point so I can look at the command at the same time as the test. And so you can either use test or test case as the name of the thing. That's also another convention that comes from like OpenStack testing folks. And you want to inherit from the base class that's over here. So this is the base OSC client test base, this thing that we want to inherit. So let's import it. So that is in Manila client dot tests dot functional dot OSC import base, and you want base dot OSC test client base. So now you have access to all of these methods that are there in the base class, including the list pools command, right? So let's write our first happy path test. So that would be just pool list. So technically, how is this executed? let's just look at a dev stack. I may not have the latest code here, so just making sure that I have. This is a dev stack machine, so and I'm syncing stuff, and it is pretty good, pretty decent by the looks of it. Yep. Okay, so I think it's just share pool list, and as you can only use the command as an administrator. That's just the virtue of the API. So let's see if that works. That's taking forever. One thing to check at that time is debug it to see, oh, there is no such thing as, that's why it took forever. It kind of loaded everything. Oh, put my debug switch in the wrong place. Looks like my keystone is host, but the command exists. Let's go back and see whether that'll come back up. But for now, we'll go back to writing the command, right? So writing the test. So what we really want is to verify that the list of pools that we're getting back has some structure and is being formatted the right way that we want. So we'll call self.list pools, and we're going to do some asserts. Right. So let's go back and build this list pool so that we can do the asserts alongside it. So what does the list pool command look like? Well, let's do some copy pasting. I'm just going to copy the way she's formatted the command here. It's OpenStack share is assumed because it is part of this invocation here. Oh, okay, so there is a dict result wrapper which ends up calling self.openstack. And if you look at self.openstack, it's got the OpenStack client, which ends up adding OpenStack share in front of it. So you don't need that part of the command that you're executing. You need to add whatever else you want to send to it. Like in our case, it's pool list and no parameters for now. Let's just keep that as is. And let's try to see if it executes it, which would be pools equals self.dict result.
I think it would be listing result, right? Because dict results back to display only one
okay
element.
And is
and
this
then
listing
you have
result?
The listing. Yeah, listing is going to be
nice.
returning more than one.
Okay, cool. And it needs the same thing, right? Object name and then the command. Okay, the object name in our case is share and the command is pool list. Okay, so we have some pools. Let's just return it back. So we've got to add some asserts. So what is it that we're getting back from the command? What do we expect? Let's look if the dev stack gave us anything. It's crazy. I think my dev stack's broken. We got a catalog response.
I can grant you access to another one if you'd like to.
Sure. Let me do the old school. Even this is hanging, which means it's definitely an issue reaching keystone on mine. Let me restart while Carlos is looking for stuff. I'm going to try to see if I can revive this. I forgot how. Yeah, I don't think Keystone's running. Oh, it is as a WSGI service. It apparently is. So let's just restart that as well. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so Keystone just needed to be kicked.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so what are we looking at over here? This is sort of the response that we're getting back. So let's look at what the response looks like. Well, we're going to have a name, a host, a backend, and a pool, and we're going to have some sort of a list of backend. So we just need to we probably need to verify the structure of this with our asserts. That's what we'll do. So let's go back, and let's look at the test shares for the asserts that she's doing. So we're for each pool that is there, we are going to get a table back, and there is an assert called assert table struct. Let's kind of copy that, I guess. Pools. Don't need a list. And what are we expecting from our table? We need name, host, backend, and pool. Pool. Okay. Anything else? And we're also looking at, this is just the share that she's creating, which she's asserting, which is a good test. But in our case, we don't really know the backend, so let's assert the pool structure. And what else can we assert? We can assert that it's not empty. That's another thing we can do. True pools. The length of the pools is greater than 0, which means, I mean, it's not a function of this particular test, but we expect that we are running against a Manila instance where we are going to have some pools. So let's assert that it's at least 1. Can you think of any other tests?
Yeah, the other ones would be to like with filtering and so on. So
With filtering, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So what are the filters that we have here? We have host, backend, pool, detail, share type. So one other thing we could do is grab this pools list that we have, grab the first element, and then try to filter the pools list for that first element.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay. Pools of 0. I mean, it's possible that we have just one pool. So I'm going to try to rely on the fact that we just have one pool over here. But it's possible we also have multiple pools. So we're going to execute a couple of filters. So let's do the first filter. I'm going to get the new pools. And this one, I'm going to try to filter it with what are the filters. I'm going to say backend equals first pool of backend. So let's filter it based on backend. And self.assert equal 1 length of pools. So we expect exactly 1 pool with that backend, right?
Yep.
Because typically you don't repeat backend names. They're unique. I mean, this could fail in a deployment where you have, same backend names across multiple hosts or something. So maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just do name. What other filters are there? it's backend, host, pool, and detail. So maybe I can do two filters. Let's do backend and host. And then we'll see. I mean, that combination should just be one, right? So that one should be fine. And let's also assert the name of the pool itself. So it would be pools of 0 of name. So we are expecting the name to be the first pool's name, and that's what we should be getting back from this pool list by filtering. So that's one filter. Are we going to do any other filter? What else is there? Detail. I like detail. We should filter with detail because the structure is going to be completely different. So I don't need this last pool. I think if you look at it like, host, backend, pool, these, filters are going to be, actually, I should probably use all three filters in one because it's possible. Let's say you're testing this against something that has multiple pools for a single backend. The dummy has just got one, but someday we add the second pool, this test will blow up. So let's not try to leave it loose. First pool's pool, the pool name. So we've filtered it by host, backend, and pool. That's host, backend, and pool. We're not going to filter it by share type because the response for that might actually be different because I mean this is going to be a complex filter. We don't really know what pools are there, so we can't really like list everything and then find all the share types and do a filter ourselves and then find out what we're going to have. And that seems a little crazy. So let's keep it simple by just filtering on these, right? And we can add any number of asserts we want, but for now, let's just keep it as is. And let's do one final test, which is def test pool list detail. So I'm trying to separate these tests because it's just good practice to make sure, different behavior is tested in different places. In this case, I needed the response over here to test this, so it's okay to keep it here. But I really don't need the response of this to test the detail. So let me grab this assert and just say detail equals true. So I want a detailed listing of the pools. And if it is detailed, what is it that we're expecting? The table structure is going to change, and you can see that here. So if it's a normal list, we're going to get name, host, backend, and pool. If it is a detailed response, I would expect to see that somewhere here. Capabilities is one of them. Okay, let me look.
Only one, right?
So it's just adding capabilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, it looks like this. It retains the other fields, and it also adds capabilities. So let's just add capabilities. Okay, that's just it. So we have two tests over here, both executing the same command, but different parameters. Okay, I'm passing a bunch of parameters, but I'm not doing anything about it in the base method. So let's now add the base method, the parameters that we're trying to pass. So we have filters, backend equals none, host equals none, pool equals none, detail equals false. And we expect backend. Yeah. Actually, let's construct this optionally. if things are not none. Let's construct that way. So pool list if backend, then command plus equals. What are we expecting? Hyphen backend equals backend.
I think it's hyphen backend and then just the name of the backend.
That's this one, right? So let's just do this. And if pool, and let's leave a space after everything so we don't have to add space at the very beginning of things. Hyphen pool, and then the pool name. And if, what is this? Host. Command equals if host, and then the host name. And that's all. So we don't need to pass detail true or false. That's because detail is set to be with an action store true, which means you just need to say hyphen detail for it to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
so
missing the blank space in the pool and in the host one.
Good. Thanks. Yep.
Problem.
Awesome. All right. So this should work, right? And it didn't take us that long to write this stuff. So let's go back and see whether we can get this to work. So we have the code already deployed here. I'm just going to verify that one more time. Okay, we have all the stuff that we need. And the way you run it is by saying toxmanasi functional, and you can specify the test path. But before that, I want to verify that I have my functional test environment. etc Manila client, manilaclient.conf. I don't have it. So I think it's time to test Carlos's Ansible playbook. So let me pull that up from his
Let's see
instructions.
if that works.
Yeah. So you're just saying go get the code from here, and let me do that.
Yeah.
I'm not copying anything else. So I'll just grab this file content and YAML.
Yep.
Can I put it anywhere?
It's preferred that you put it there in the Manila
thing.
client. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you need to run the playbook too. Yeah, it doesn't matter actually, I think.
Yeah, it should work.
As long as it identifies the roles, where the roles are, and I just recommend it because like it will need to identify the roles from the Python Manila client. So yeah.
Right. So my path is opt stack, which is the default for the role. So ls-l roles. That's where the role is. So you can do roles / populate Manila client config / tasks and main.yaml to kind of see what's going on. So it does a bunch of things. It's going to find the dev stack folder and execute a bunch of things. Cool. So that should work. So let's do Ansible Playbook, and then the name of our playbook. It's called scratch.yaml. Okay. Can I do pip install Ansible? I can, right? Why do I need apt? Okay. I don't know if it'll break my dev stack. So let's see if I have a VN. Python 3. Senf. I don't trust Ansible to not break dev stack. Okay. All right. Let's just install Ansible and that went out to lunch. Okay, it's finding it, not bad.
Yes, tell me.
It's possible that the cloud where this particular VM is having a bad day. That happens way too often.
Yeah.
Sorry about the wait. But if anybody wants to continue to look at the code, I can bring that up while this boring stuff is happening. Any questions so far, like what we did over here, kinds? It's a rather simple command. I think when you start working with yours, you might end up adding more methods to this base class. Like there's creating a share, but maybe you need a snapshot, maybe you need, a share group, etc. So you'll end up adding more create commands over here. And I noticed that Mari did not have a listing result, so list share stuff in that class. So I need not have this. I could have just, added that code right here into the test just to show you the base classes why we're using this particular file. Nothing wrong, but if you prefer to use, put your list methods directly inside your test, it's not a big deal. Unless you want to have multiple tests that are calling the same list method, then it makes sense to have it in the base class. Let's check on this guy. Nope. What else can I bore you about? That should work though. I don't see. Yeah, some of the things to point out, I think, would be stuff like this. Like if you're trying to do some action, you might have to wait for things to get created or ready. Like for example, if you're working on replicas and you want to make sure your replica is ready for promotion, then you want to make sure that the status, the replica state has gone to in sync, etc. So you might have to end up adding a waiter like this. Like in this case, she's waiting for the share object to become available, and so on. And at cleanup, another important thing to do. So anything that you're creating, you also want to make sure you're deleting it. So a lot like Tempest tests in a sense, because these are pretty much black box tests like Tempest itself. Instead of hitting the API directly, you're just hitting the CLI. Okay, so we have Ansible presumably. So let's see if this playbook works. There is populate Manila client config was not found in these roles. Okay, that's I think because where I'm putting this thing, right? So let me just move so you're right. I think the playbook has to be relative to the role.
Yeah.
I can delete it later. Task includes an option with an undefined variable.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's there's need to modify the it's one of the parts here, like the step 3. So in the let me see the path of the file. Roles populate Manila client, and then the main.yaml file, you need to modify the value of the Manila client config with the actual value, because otherwise it will try to use a zoo variable, and we do not have the zoo variable set there.
And why don't we have that in the defaults then? Okay, so that's a bug in our role. We could put it in the default so we can allow it to be overridden.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good catch. We can just fix that later. All right, so you're saying change the Manila client config over here.
Yeah, it could be not. Yeah, I think that's this one. But you can change directly the Manila client config value, because we are using that variable, for example, and then we can modify
Is it
the place where
inside defaults already?
I think it maybe yes.
Oh, it's not under tasks.
Let me
Defaults.
see. I think there's the path there. Yeah, it's defaults main
Defaults
YAML.
/ main. Oh, so we already have it in the defaults. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I couldn't get away from doing this in the CI. I needed it to be like this for the CI.
Yeah, it makes total sense. But in our case, we need to pass like the entire path to this. Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah,
that looks correct.
That should work now.
Okay. We're going to do a few things. Not everything is required for OSC functional testing, but it's required for the other one. So once this thing is run, you can verify. There is going to be a Manila client.conf file that should look like this. It just has gone out and grabbed all the data from the environment. It's created a bunch of things, etc. So that's all we need. Right, Carlos?
Yep.
Okay, docs -e functional, and I can copy the path from Carlos's doc here.
Yeah. If you want to be more specific and run only yours, yeah.
Yeah, let me do that as well. So let me just grab the name of the class.
And also, if you want to create a shared type for if you run only yours, it possibly won't be a problem. But
yeah, I don't need a shared type, I think, for this one.
Yeah, for this one you won't need.
Again, this setup is one time, so
yeah,
you won't have to do this again and again unless you change your environment. There is one thing while this is going on that might actually change by the time you guys start writing the tests, right? I think it's the splitting of this command, and Carlos is working on that right now. I did want to kind of go through that stuff. Carlos, do you want to explain what this patch is all about?
Yeah, so basically we are currently taking the admin credentials for every single command we run. Because, I mean, it will try to get the admin one, and then if it doesn't have anything, then it's going to use like the regular user one. So for that, I mean, we do not need the admin client or run all the commands as an admin. For example, creating a share is not supposed to be only an admin action. Like a regular user would be able to do that as well if they have the share types and so on. So the idea of this change is basically to allow us to say when we want to use the admin client and when we want to use the user client. So yeah, in that way, when you are implementing a new command or a new function where you want to say there, so we can, for example, say what client we want to use. And then in a change where I'm creating share replicas, for example, I should be able I would need to do that as an admin. But when I'm creating a share, I wouldn't necessarily need to do that as an admin. I could do that as a regular user. So that's what this change is about. It's allowing us, like as programmers, to say when we specifically need an admin client and when we can use like a regular client, for example. So yeah, that's basically what's about. We currently have like a way, and we usually set up like only one client, and it would, if you had the Manila client config with only the user credentials, then you would end up with a user client. But if you didn't, if you had like both, you would end up with an admin client and perform all operations. So that's what this change is about, preventing or giving us a way to say what client we want to use for such operations.
Awesome. And in this case, this test, oh yeah, there you go. The test just passed. Doesn't happen to me often. But in this case, then applying Carlos's change, I would then have to do self.list pools, and maybe in this command before I send this, I say client equals admin or something like that.
Self.admin. Because I mean, as
Self.admin.
you are inheriting from the base class, when that base class is instantiated, it's going to
Yeah.
instantiate the admin client already. So you can just specify the client already, and you can just say what client it is.
Awesome. All right. So maybe that's one change that we're going to have to make once Carlos's change merges.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about it again, I guess, on Thursday. But that's it, guys. That was all the stuff that was needed to write this functional test and to run it. So any questions at all?
Don't think so. Are you going to submit this patch?
Yes, I will. I'll just push it up and add it to the examples that we have.
Okay, but cool. Yeah, that definitely helped me at least. Yeah.
Awesome.
Though I'm more used to tempests in the for the client, I was trying to understand what was the necessary what we want to validate, and yes, much more clear now.
Yep. On that point, what do we want to validate? It is what we are trying to print out right into the screen. Right now, it's just a table formatter. There's different kinds of formatters, but at least we're going to write tests for the table formatter that most people are going to use when they're using the CLI. So what is the structure of the table that we're producing? What is maybe some data verifications like this, like, okay, I'm filtering based on some known things. Am I getting back what I'm expecting, sort of a thing? That's the validations that we're adding. And you will see in Tempest, this isn't what the API is responding. This is what the CLI is formatting like. So in your commands, your formats your outputs could be transformed. There could be some more magic that the CLI is doing. So that's what we want to verify in these asserts.
Okay.
Jonathan, this might be just an extension, but so if you want to test these commands in some other language, what do we do? Is there a path for that, or is it required for even the verification to test it in other language, Portuguese or similar?
Oh, you mean like these things that the CLI is doing?
Yes, exactly. To verify that the pool table looks validate the content of the the fields and so forth. And
yeah, you're right.
Something we're required to test.
I mean, we don't have to, but that's a great question because of the fact that we very hopefully add all of these translation markers, but not all of the OpenStack projects are 100% translated, right? So we don't get translations. For instance, I've not seen one being submitted against the Python Manila client for a while now. So yeah, so most of our verifications, etc., we cannot do it unless those translation files also exist. That's the problem. So you need a translation file to be present over here in the repo, and I think I've even forgotten where they add it. It's somewhere under a lang folder, I think. And you got to, when you install the package, you specify the locale, or maybe it's read from your environment, and it installs it so that all of the stuff that's written here gets transformed into that particular language. Not this stuff, because we don't have translation markers here, but you're looking at stuff like this. Wherever there's a translation marker, this one, that's getting translated. Hopefully, but it does not happen all the time is kind of what I was getting at, because Python Manila client has not been one of those projects that has been translated a lot.
So we're not required to even look at that.
Yeah, exactly, because it needs that other translation stuff to come in. You'll see that in Manila UI, for instance. I've even forgotten where those files get pushed to, but the UI gets a little more love from translators than the command line client. These files. So these are different languages that things are getting translated to. So all those translation markers that we're adding are ending up, with some translations and stuff. The CLI, on the other hand, I don't even know if we have that locale folder, because we may not have ever received any translations. Yeah, there is nothing here. Yep. But if you, I mean, because you asked, there is a server. It's called the Zanata, or I think it's just called translate.openstack.org. And I've been there sometimes in the past. So this is where you go and you can contribute translations to. So you use the same login as OpenStack's, which is the OpenStack One login, or the OpenInfra login, and it will show you all of the different projects. I'm not a new user. Yeah, I'm not a new user. I don't know what's going on there. It'll show you all of the different projects, and you will surely see Python Manila client. Oops, that's not even there. So maybe it's not listed there. So here's Manila and Manila UI, for instance. You can go into Manila and you can see how much amount of the content is translated. You can pick a particular branch and help with the translation. Like you can, pick the language that let's say, and you can grab the text that you want to translate, etc. Something is wrong with my login, but this is how you would do it if you wanted to help out with that sorts.
Is
Yep.
Quite interesting. Because we have such a diverse team here. I was thinking.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's a great question.
Thanks for the pair code reminder. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. So I seem to have some Pepate issues. I'll fix them. I'll submit it, but let's not wait on that. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask me before we end this call, or before Carlos ends this call? All right. Thanks. It looks like nothing. Carlos, all yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for agreeing to implement one command. Me volunteering you. It was like last minute, but yeah, thank you. You did amazing as always. Awesome. If you guys don't have any other questions, then we can go to the coding part. So yeah, we can jump off the call. Thank you very much for attending and for getting those tasks to work on. If you have questions or or something you would like to ask, please reach us out on OpenStack Manila on the on FTC in our IRC channel. And yeah, if you'd like if you'd like to add something else to this meeting, please do so. Otherwise, we can wrap up here. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
folks.
thanks, thanks, Carlos, for that.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you
looking forward
both.
to the outputs of this. If you need any help, just ping us. Yeah, thank you, Fernando. Thank you, NetApp folks, for joining. Thank you, Archana and Anurata and everyone. Yep. See you
Thank you.
then on Thursday.
Okay.
Otherwise on RC if you have any questions. I'll stop recording now.